The Dornier Do, sometimes referred to as the Fliegender Bleistift, was a World War II German light bomber produced by Claudius Dornier's company, Dornier Flugzeugwerke. It was designed as a Schnellbomber, a light bomber which, in theory, would be so fast that it could outrun defending fighter aircraft. The Dornier was designed with two engines mounted on their shoulder wing structure and possessed a twin-tail fin configuration. The type was popular among its crews due to its handling, especially at low altitude, which made the Do-17 harder to hit than other German bombers. Designed in the early 1930s, it was one of the three main Luftwaffe bomber types used in the first 3 years of the war. The Do-17 made its combat debut in 1937 during the Spanish Civil War, operating in the Condor Legion in various roles. Along with the Heinkel He-111, it was the main bomber type of the German Air Arm in 1939–1940. The Dornier was used throughout the early war, and saw action in significant numbers in every major campaign theater as a frontline aircraft until the end of 1941, when its effectiveness and usage was curtailed as its bomb load and range were limited. Production of the Dornier ended in mid-1940, in favor of the newer and more powerful Junkers Do-88. The successor of the Do-17 was the much more powerful Dornier Do 217, which started to appear in strength in 1942. Even so, the Do-17 continued service in the Luftwaffe in various roles until the end of the war, as a glider tug, research and trainer aircraft. A considerable number of surviving examples were sent to other Axis nations as well as countries like Finland. Few Dornier Do-17s survived the war, and the last was scrapped in Finland in 1952. On the 3rd of September 2010, the Royal Air Force Museum London announced the discovery of a Henschel-built Dornier Do-17Z buried in the Goodwin Sands off the coast of Kent, England. On the 10th of June 2013, the salvage team raised the airframe from the seabed. Development. In 1932, the Ordnance Department issued a specification for the construction of a freight aircraft for German state railways, and a high-speed mail plane for Lufthansa. The factory at Friedrichshafen began work on the design on 1 August 1932. When the Nazis took power in 1933, Hermann Göring became National Commissar for Aviation with former Deutsche Lufthansa employee Erhard Milch as his deputy, soon forming the Ministry of Aviation. The Ministry of Aviation designated the new aircraft Do-17, and on the 17th of March 1933, just 3 months after taking office, Milch gave the go-ahead for the building of prototypes. At the end of 1933, the Ministry of Aviation issued an order for a high-speed aircraft with double tail, and for a freight aircraft with special equipment, in other words, a bomber. The original design configuration in 1932 had sported a single vertical stabilizer, and Dornier continued developing that model. The Do-17 was first demonstrated in mock-up form in April 1933. The special equipment was to be fitted later to disguise its offensive role. In April 1934, the Dornier works at Manzil began project definition. During this month, the defensive armament was designed and the bomb release mechanism details ironed out. Production of these prototypes began on the 20th of May 1934, and on the 23rd of November 1934, the Do-17 V1, with a single fin and powered by two BMW Vi 7.3 motors, took off on its first flight. Testing was delayed by a series of accidents, with V1 being damaged in landing accidents in February and April 1935. The twin-tailed V-2 first flew on the 18th of May 1935 and was evaluated together with the V-1 by the Ministry of Aviation at Reachland in June. During the tests, the single fin proved to be only marginally stable, resulting in the V-1 being modified with a twin tail. The aircraft was destroyed in a crash after an engine failure on the 21st of December 1935. The V-3, also fitted with a twin tail, was originally planned to be powered by Hispano-Suiza 12YBR's engines, but as these were unavailable, it was fitted with BMW VI 7.3 engines like the V-1 and flew on the 19th of September 1935. The V-1 prototype remained the only built machine with the single stabilizer. It is claimed that, unlike the Heinkel He-111 series, whose military use was planned from the start, the Do-17 V-1 was contracted as a fast six-passenger mail plane to compete with the smaller Heinkel He-70 monoplane. It has been suggested that it was rejected by Lufthansa, as the cramped cabin was too uncomfortable for passenger use and the operating costs were too high for a mail plane. According to the story, the three prototypes remained unused in the Dornier factory in Lowenthal for almost 6 months, until flight captain and active Lufthansa came across them. After receiving permission to fly one of the machines, he proceeded to put it through an almost stunt flying routine. After landing, he said that the machine is as nimble as a fighter, give it more lateral stability, and we'll have a high-speed bomber. Untakt's comments prompted Dornier to redesign the tail unit and revived interest in the type. Dornier was then ordered to produce the V-4 prototype. Some sources state this differed from the V-3 in that the passenger portholes were removed and the single fin was replaced with two smaller ones. Photographic evidence demonstrates the V-3 had twin stabilizers from the start of its construction. The tests of the twin-tailed V-4, V-6 and V-7 prototypes were positive, and more prototypes like the V-8 emerged as the forerunner of the long-range reconnaissance version, while the V-9 was tested as a high-speed airliner. The V-9 machine was still flying in 1944. Design. The cockpit and forward fuselage had a conventional stepped cockpit, and its nose was fully glazed. Early variants had been labeled the Flying Pencil, owing to its sleek and continuous, stick-like lines. As a result of the lessons learned in the Spanish Civil War, the cockpit roof was raised and the lower, or bottom half, of the crew compartment was a typical undernose, Bodenlafette, abbreviated BOLA, inverted casemate design, ventral defensive armament position, a common feature of most German medium bombers. The BOLA was extended back to the leading edge of the wings, where the lower rear gunner's position and upper rear gunner position were level with each other. As with contemporary German bombers, the crew were concentrated in a single compartment. The cockpit layout consisted of the pilot's seat and front gunner in the forward part of the cockpit. The pilot sat on the left side, close up to the plexiglass windshield. One of the gunners sat on the right seat, which was set further back to provide room for the 7.92 mm MG-15 machine gun to be traversed in use. The A-17 usually carried a crew of 4, the pilot, a bombardier and 2 gunners. The bomb aimer also manned the MG-15 in the nose glazing and BOLA-housed rear lower position. The 2 gunners operated the forward-firing MG-15 installed in the front windshield, the 2 MGs located in the side windows, and the rearward-firing weapon. The cockpit offered a bright and panoramic view at high altitude. The standard ammunition load was 3,300 rounds of 7.92 mm ammunition in 44 double-drum magazines. The wings were of a broad 55 square meters area and had a span of 18 meters with a straight leading edge which curved in a near-perfect semicircle into the trailing edge. The positions of the wing roots were offset. The leading edge wing root merged with the top of the fuselage and cockpit. Is the wing extended backwards by roughly 2/3. It declined downwards at a sharp angle so that the trailing edge wing root ended nearly halfway down the side of the fuselage, increasing the angle of incidence. This design feature was used on all future Dornier bomber designs, namely the Dornier Do 217. The trailing edge was fed into the round fuselage shape. The engine nacelle was also fed into the flaps. The extreme rear of the nacelle was hollow and allowed the flap with an attached vertical slot to fit into the cavity when deployed. The fuselage was 15.80 meters long. It was thin and narrow, which presented an enemy with a difficult target to hit. The fuselage had twin vertical stabilizers to increase lateral stability. The power plant of the Z1 was to have been the Daimler-Benz DB601, but, owing to shortages from priority allocation for Bf 109E and Bf 110 fighter production, it was allocated Bramo 323A1 power plants. The Brahmos could only reach 352 km/h at 1,070 meters. The limited performance of the Brahmo 323s ensured that a 17 could not reach 416 km/h at 3,960 meters in level flight when fully loaded. The range of the Do-17Z1 at ground level was 635 nmi. This increased to 1,370 km at 4,700 meters. This gave an average attack range of 400 nmi. The introduction of the Brahmo 323P increased the Z2 performance slightly in all areas. The Dornier had self-sealing fuel tanks to protect fuel stored in the wings and fuselage. This reduced the loss of fuel and risk of fire when hit in action, and often enabled the aircraft to return. 20 oxygen bottles were provided for crew use during long flights above 3,660 meters. Communications usually consisted of FUG-X, the later FUG-10, navigational direction finder PLGV direction finder, and the FUG-25 IFF and FUBI-1 blind landing devices. A crew communicated by EIV intercom. A primitive autopilot device, the Siemens K4U, was installed and could maintain bearing using the rudder's control surfaces. The bomb bay accommodated 4 bomb racks, the No. 5-4 SC-50 bombs and 2 etc. 500 racks to carry heavier loads of up to 500 kilograms each. A LOTFE or B bomb sight was issued together with the BZA-2 aperture. The aircraft's bomb bay allowed 2 options. The first was to carry 4 250 kg bombs for a load of 1,000 kg, which reduced aircraft range. With half the maximum load, 10 50 kg bombs, additional fuel tanks could be placed into the forward part of the bomb bay to increase range. The bomb aimer would deploy the bomber load via the LOTFE bomb sight, which was in the left side of the nose compartment directly under and forward of the pilot. When fully loaded, the Z1 weighed 7,740 kilograms.